Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Kate and I have been uploading mostly a whole lot of videos of me finding cool stuff, vintage hauls, or call them what you like. And that has been a lot of fun lately, but it's not as though I'm not still stitching. I am stitching. I just have been doing it more kind of in the evenings, hanging out with my husband more than in my little sewing studio, or well, I'm out between meetings and you know the rest, because I always have like 3 projects in my purse, which is a little ridiculous, but hey, it's where I am. So I've been working on this little bag for a couple of days, and I thought, you know, why not just finish it and hang out with you, and then we can share a little bit of stitching time. So I would love to encourage you to go and get something that you are working on, whether it's stitching or might be some paper crafting, or it could be painting or drawing or whatever you're into. And let's hang out while we create something. So I'm almost finished with this. This is one of my little, it's going to be a bag, maybe. It's a pouch. I turn things into bags just by putting a handle of some kind on them, and usually it's maybe just something really simple like a little rope handle like that, which I got this off of a curtain and I have been loving it, and I'm almost out. Now this is off white. It doesn't quite go with the white, so I don't know. I'll probably wait and find something else I like better. I could always braid a few fabrics together and make a little fabric strap. I've done that before. That's cute. Could just be a pouch. Also an option. Anyway, it was a tea towel. You can probably see that. I folded it. I lined the whole thing. So I feel like I'm improving in my construction of these bags. So I thought it through, and I did some of my stitching before I lined it, right? Is that progress or what? Because then it's all hidden. Then, look at that. What? Yep, there's the back. So I just was working on this afternoon. This pouch was inspired by, yes, this tea towel, but also you might have seen in one of my videos that I got this, it was like a table runner, and it had, I think, 10 or something of this in these squares checkerboarded on the piece, and it had a really cute border, this border around them. This was from one edge, and you have the crochet on there. You have this really cute little border design, and I wanted to make something that featured this. So instead of going all blue and orange, I decided to bring in a little bit of the green, a little of the yellow, and I really like how it turned out. This is just so you can kind of think through the layers that you're seeing. You know, let's walk it through. So we've got this embroidery, and I used it twice to bring together the back and the front. This is actually a hanky, and it's stitched down, but I just folded it to make it fit. So this piece is actually complete on here. And in the future, if somebody wanted to take this off, they could, and it'll be a complete piece with the little edging around it. But I loved how this coordinated and complemented both the stitching and the colors. So I decided to just do it on this part, because that way when I fold this down, you just have the white. And I think sometimes a piece wants a little margin. And I had thought about stitching more on this. It just doesn't need it, you know, so let that be the feature on here. So on the back, where we have lots of fun things happening and lots of layers, layer upon layer, as Kate in the Nest would say. And if you're not following Kate in the Nest, you should definitely go check her out, because she's fabulous. So anyway, we've got lots of layers going on. So let's just walk through some of them. I've got some doilies. Now, some of them are complete. They're small. They are just as they came. This one and this one. Some of them are a piece that was one of a whole bunch of doilies, and I cut it up to make more. I'm not going to do that to this one, but it would be as if I cut this one and this one and this one and ended up with a lot of small pieces. I I might do that with this. I don't know. We've talked about this piece. I will not go into it again. But anyway, you could do that. A lot of them, if they're just really beautiful, I'm just going to leave it how it is. You know, I don't want to take away from this whole design. So that one I will leave. So anyway, I had one where I've seen it a lot of times. So I went ahead and cut it up, and I've been using it to back different stacks of kind of embellishments, features on different pieces. Let's see. I had done this fabric. My lace is not totally straight, and therefore I put this doily over here in this corner. You know, and are you going to notice? No, nobody's going to notice. You know, as Catherine always says, there's very few things that can't be improved with more stitching. So with this, I didn't really like just the fabric. So I added some lace. I didn't really like just that. So then I added this, and I love it now because I've got a doily, a Suffolk puff, a crocheted flower that was on a vintage doily. And then this is one of those really floppy doilies. I don't know. There's this ruffled edge all around it. As it is, it's too big for me to use in anything, but a little piece of it absolutely makes this little corner. So I love that. Then I did a couple more Suffolk puffs. And with this one, I just went with a large button offset by these two smaller buttons. You know, so again, I've got layers of color. I've got layers of different kinds of fabric and different kinds of needlework, different kinds of textiles. And I love how it turned out. I added my own little lazy daisies down here and just kind of filled in this without adding too much visual weight. So, you know, you've got a little bit of white happening, a little tied in with this kind of ecru color. But it's just fun, lots of playful details. And I will say, I signed my work. KT, my initials. It's not something you're going to really notice, but I've been thinking more and more about how important it is that everybody signs their work. So I went ahead and put my initials on here. And I was at an antique vintage market show last weekend, and you know, a lot of people have really nice labels that they make that say, you know, whatever their store name on them. And I like that too. I might print up some, maybe, I don't know. But for now, just stitching my initials is enough of a signature for me. It's not really for them. It's more for me. I did this little piece of work. I like that. It's kind of cool. Okay, so then when you open it up, you've got this. Now, I was pretty much finished. Famous last words. All right. So I stitched up this side because we're on the home stretch, but I don't like this. I don't know what this is doing. Like this side is being all, you know, it's laying down how it's supposed to. It's with the program here. And this side is just not doing that. And it's not quite matching up. So I got to this point. Before I went any further, I thought, you know what? I want to find something to just lay here and here maybe, even though no one else is going to care. I want it to look good. So let's audition a few options. I have this really cool vintage lace. I could lay that over it, you know, and whatever I do here, I think I'm also going to do across the top here. So it will be visible. So that's an option. I just got this vintage lace. And let's see. It's a good amount of it. I absolutely loved this pattern. It has little flower baskets, but that is just too much happening for this design. So that's a no. And I did also think about, I could just use more of this fabric, but that's not quite what I want to do. What about that? So it's blue, which, you know, if you look at the design of this bag, it is mainly blue, orange, yellow. The back obviously is more yellow and green, but it has the blue. This is a lighter blue, but I'm okay with that. That's a possibility. Okay. Any good kit compiler, which maybe I will be someday. I am thinking about this because I love putting together colors, and maybe that would be fun. Comment below if you think I should do that, because as we know, finding the stuff is a huge part of the fun. So anyway, if I put together a vintage little kit of stuff for people, you know, I would wrap it also with a bit of trim that could be used in a project. What about that? I don't know. Is the rope too much? It could just lay along there. I could do it so the rope was down. I could do it so the rope was the top finished edge on this part. I don't know if it adds too much bulk though. It's possible. The other one also has a cord in it and it's a little bit too shiny. Okay. I think of all of these options, I think that I really like one of these two laces the best. And I think I might just go with this really simple one. It doesn't really, it blends in with the yellow. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, so snip to get a clean edge, snip. Okay, so actually thinking about this, I think I'm going to go with a really light yellow because it'll kind of blend in with the background. So how are you? I am having a lovely Sunday afternoon. I have enjoyed looking through all the things I found at one of my recent estate sales. Found some really cool stuff. You should go over and watch that video. I'm trying to make my vintage haul videos like not super long, but sometimes they have some really cool stuff. So I did that, and that was really fun. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one first because this is easier. Then I got to do the one where I've already stitched it closed. Whoops. But, you know, you live and learn. So when I'm doing this and it's already lined, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run my stitch between the layers of fabric here. Okay, so I'm making a little stitch here, and then my needle is not coming through on the back. I'm just feeling it. It goes under this layer of fabric, and then it comes out here, okay? The reason well, obviously, I don't want a bunch of yellow stitches across the front. And with this piece, I've got so much fabric going on that it's actually not that difficult to feel where it is. So I don't mind this showing through on the back. I'm not really worried about that. I think it looks fine. And I don't know why this other one was bugging me. It doesn't really make any sense, but that's all right. Because one more detail, I mean, it's kind of like the tape that you put on the edges of, I guess, like quilting. I'm not a quilter. When you're finishing an edge, you want it to look nice. And I really do like a very small little lace detail like this for stuff like this, the edges. It's just a little nicer than just seeing the edge of the fabric. Now, I did hand stitch all of this. You could definitely, like, I hand stitched the lining. I sewed it shut. I've just folded it over and then I stitched it down. But, you know, when you're thinking through your project, you definitely want to kind of be logical in the order. I like to do everything where I know I'm going to do the stitching first. But as we are currently seeing, after you put it all together, you may end up thinking, yeah, there's one more thing I want to do. And there's always a way to do it, you know. This little edge, yes, the whole thing is put together, but I can still do this. It's not that difficult. And I think, you know, never worry about putting a little extra on something. There's a way. You can figure it out. I have no doubt. Or you can always look up a YouTube video. What's your favorite thing about YouTube right now in your own life? Like, mine is definitely the community that I have found of people all over the world who enjoy some of the things that I enjoy. That's amazing. I mean, I feel like to know that you guys come from all over, you know, and here I am, and I've lived a lot of places in the United States. Started in California, and then I've lived in New York and Boston and the middle of the South, and I lived a couple places in California, actually. And now I live in Pensacola, Florida, which I love. It is a great place to live. All right, I'm going to just trim that edge off. Whoop. And I think that's just right. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So now that I've had a test run on the easy part, I gotta do this here where I have already stitched it down. But we can do this. It is not impossible. I am going to just kind of tuck that in. And I'm going to go ahead and trim off a little length of this. It may not be exact, but it's pretty close. So I think it'll just be easier to work that way. Now, when I'm working with so many layers, one of the cool things about that is that you can always run your thread between the layers. And so I'm going to run it from the inside so it's tucked away into that little corner. And then I'm going to run it in between. We're just going to try this. Just kind of get it in there. And then I got to think about what all I want to cover. So, okay. The thing that's bugging me is that this is standing up. So I know that I want to fold that down and then cover it, I think, with that. And we'll see when I get over there what I want to do. Again, this is the inside that's facing away from the person, so they're not really going to notice this, but I want it to look finished. I'm getting more and more requests from people to buy some of my things, which is wonderful, and I'm excited about also because I do not want to become a storage unit of bags. This is not the goal. And yes, I can give some away, but you know, not everybody is into this. And then some people are super into it. So I want to find my people and then provide them with some cool stuff. Plus, it'd be awesome if this could at least cover my shopping desire to find cool vintage stuff and rescue it from the landfill. So, you know, if I can sell some stuff, awesome. So anyway, as I work toward that goal, it makes it more, you know, I really want to the edges to be finished and things like that. Not in a perfect way, not perfect. It's handmade. The imperfection is part of the beauty. But I also don't want it to fall apart or get weird or unravel or something. So we're going to work on those things. Okay, so I've got that sort of nailed down and I got this folded over. So now I just need to make sure that I'm going through the layer of yellow fabric, the layer of blue fabric, my lace, and not the front. You know, why make things easy for yourself? Just, you know, first make your thing of many layers and then add the lace. But look at this. It's going to work out just fine. Because again, I mean, we've got a lot of layers that we can run with here. And there really isn't a way to finish this, because the whole point is that I'm kind of covering everything and bringing it all together. Okay. You know, and theoretically, you could definitely do this on a machine, but I kind of find it easier in a way because I can make sure everything is stitch by stitch where I want it to be and then stitch it down. So see that little lace, it's not quite even, so I'm just going to pop that up a little bit. And I'm happy with my choice of thread because I think the yellow, it just really blends in. And I'm happy with this choice of lace because it's wide enough to cover that little bit, but it's not so wide that it really introduces any kind of new design element or anything. It's just there, finishing the edge. So what are you working on? I would love to hear about it. I think I say this in every video, but if you have an Instagram and you want to go follow me, I'm at Kate_stitching, just like on YouTube. I would love to then be able to see your work. I think that's really fun. So feel free to reach out there. You can message me if you want and just say, hey, I've got something up. I would love to see it because, again, it's just cool to have a community of people who are into what you're into. You know, I've got a very cool, I have a few friends who love quilting and love journaling and love other stuff. And I love that. I don't know a whole lot of slow stitchers where I live. Thinking of doing a workshop. I mean, you know, and you may go, Kate, didn't you just kind of start doing this? And what in the world do you think you have to teach people? And that is a fair question. Kate and the Nest, Kate and I were talking about this once. We both have some background in education. And I think that when you are an educator, when you're a teacher or in some other way in education, you just want to teach other people at heart. If you learn something, you want to come alongside people who are maybe even ahead of you, but you're just thinking, hey, here's a new idea on this thing you could do, you know, and that is kind of that's the kind of workshop I would want to offer. It would be more, hey, here's some inspiration. Here's some things I've learned. Here's some things I'm really enjoying and that have made my life more fun and better, and share them with people. Because, you know, isn't that what we do? We discover something fantastic that gives us joy, you know, and then we say, hey, come and learn about this. I just started a new mentoring group last week. I've got 3 young women in their 20s, and we're doing a study of scripture, and we're studying just life and how do you live life and how do you answer big questions and how do you deal with messy things. You know, and I think that when something matters to you, you want to pass it on to other people. So wanting to do that with stitching totally makes sense to me, even if I'm not very far along. All right. I am very happy with this. Look, I think I've got one crazy little yellow stitch, but you know what? The Amish people, I have heard, always leave one stitch that is imperfect to remind them of probably humility, guessing something like that, which is wise. So there's my one odd stitch, which frankly is, well, there's many of them, so that's okay. That's okay. All right, so now I'm going to finish this baby. I'm going to take my yellow thread out. I'm going to swap it out for the white thread I had before. Coming down the home stretch. Now, I will point out to you all, because y'all are makers too, this is not perfect. I know, it's shocking. But, you know, perhaps you are noting, even as you look at me while I am attempting to thread my giant-eyed needle with a giant threader. Maybe you're noting that, Kate, you can see the lace over the top. Why, yes, Yes, you can. And I've tried folding it slightly there, but oh no, then I can see this. So that's where that's going to go. Now, if I was really concerned about it, I could add another layer of something there, which I'm not, and go like that. And then, oh, look, I can have it wherever. You can always do that, you know, and actually that wouldn't be bad. It would be really, look at that. It's even exactly the right width. Huh. So if I wanted this to be higher up because I wanted maybe a taller bag, I could. Now, I don't want to do that because we get to losing the white space above this design. Okay. So, but if I brought it up just a little bit, would I like it better? That's the question. But oh, my little lace I just finished. I may sacrifice my little lace that I just finished because I do like not seeing that lace above the top. But I'm going to need like an inch on the bottom here. Okay. All right. I've got my world's tiniest iron. Like, okay. I don't think this is a very good iron, but I got it because I have it right here next to me. And this is wool. I know. And I'm sorry, you guys. I know this is not a very pretty thing to look at. It's wool. Maybe I should put something else down, but it's just so practical. I can stick a needle in it. You know, things don't really stick to it. And I could iron right on top of it. I'm not your big ironing girl. I don't know. Where I live, some people iron, I'm sure. I know they do because they wear linen, which frankly, how do you even keep that ironed? It's an impossible fabric if you're wearing it. So you have to just embrace not. But, you know, people in the South, they wear cotton and they wear whatever and they iron things. But I do not iron a lot. I really don't. So that's my story. But anyway, I have this tiny, tiny little iron. Why? Because I can do this. I love having it next to me. I have a little silicone mat that it sits on. Here, I shall bring it up for you to see. Isn't that cute? It came with that. So I just put it down next to me. Scooch that over a bit. And then it is ready for me. Anyway. Okay, that was a digression, but that needed to be ironed in order for it to sit right. It's exactly the width, which is just crazy. And is why I'm going to do this. Okay, now I have to think a minute because if I'm going to add this to my cute little end and have that sit down, I want to do it in a good way. Am I just going to cut this off? Let's see how much it needs to come down in order to cover this when it is folded how I want it to be. About there, which means it needs to be right about there. Okay, so that means I don't need all of this. Okay, let's think for a second here. I could, of course, I could just fold it, but that's going to get into a bunch of fabric that is going to look funny. So I'm going to look here. I basically want enough room to attach it, and I may end up doing another layer of lace. Now, okay. Now, if this absolutely had to be lined up, I could rotary cut it. I could cut it in a more precise way. But the bottom line is I just need it to lay here. This is going to be so cute. I'm loving it already. It just adds a little flounce. All right, I'm sorry, lace. That layer of lace, you're just going to get hidden now, but that's okay. It's for the greater good. You'll be all right. You'll be in there and I'll know you're there, even if no one else does. Okay, now I've got how many layers that I'm stitching through? Oh, but I'm good with it. Okay, before I start stitching, I'm just going to double check. Is that how much I wanted? Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so again, I'm gonna run this under, like in between some of my fabric. Okay, starting there. And I see this edges here. I'm just attaching it on here. I'm not worried about it being insanely secure, but it does need to be pretty secure. You will notice too that I am stitching with 6 strands of embroidery floss, which may seem like overkill, admittedly. It's just what I generally stitch with when I am doing construction of something, and it seems to hold up fine. So obviously you could do a fancy stitch here. Now I'll show you in a minute why I'm not that worried about it. So I'm going to come across and just double checking that it's fairly straight. I'm just coming in with a running stitch. I am once again going under. Yep, I am going under the layer. I am not popping it out the back. And this should go really quickly because, again, I'm just making a few little stitches. Now, this is not as cute. So what are we going to do? Of course, we're going to add something, right? Because more stitching. What else am I going to do? I'm just here wanting to stitch anyway. There's always more things I could work on, but, you know, might as well make yourself happy with the end product of something that you're doing. You know, especially if it just means putting in a few more stitches. Okay. I'm doing a little extra stitch there. I'm going to do 1 stitch along the side here, just to kind of tack that down. And then I'm going to run my needle. Okay, let's see. Run it between the layers, but then I'm going to actually bring it out in between the layers here. And I think I'll do 1 more stitch just for good measure. And then I'm just finishing this off by knotting it between these layers. Just do a little knot, and that'll be hidden in there. Now, I am not removing my thread yet because I think I do want to still put a little layer of lace along here to finish the edge. I liked how that looked. It's pretty, and it does finish it. So now it'll just be up a little. Now I don't have yellow behind it. I have white behind it, right? So I'm actually just going to take through the white thread that I was working with here. Okay, now, I don't know why, but stitching from right to left for some reason is easier. I guess because this is my dominant hand, and I don't know, it's just easier. Now I'm going to actually do a couple of whipped stitches along the side here, just so that all my sandwiched layers here have a little extra reinforcement. And it's white, it's not really going to show up. Okay, now just going to cover, and so now the lace here is going to run really halfway over the yellow and halfway over the white, and I'm going to stitch along the white edge. And this is at the edge of the pouch. It's, I think, not going to get, I mean, it'll get some wear in a sense. Not that this is probably somebody's, you know, mom purse. It's definitely not something that you're going to I don't know. It has perfect room for your keys and your cell phone and a lipstick and, you know, maybe brunch with girlfriends. It's that kind of bag. Everybody needs a brunch with girlfriends bag, right? So anyway, it doesn't have to be super, super durable, but I do want it to stay. So I'm just going to tack this down. I'm telling you, you know, design just kind of creates itself as you go. Sorry, I don't know if I got my head in there. And I love that because, you know, you're going along thinking, I'm going to do this thing. And then it's like, oh, this would solve this problem and it makes it cooler. There you go. So I'm curious how many of you are doing the Roxy's Journal of Stitchery Still Life project. Have you heard of this? If you haven't, you can put into the search Roxy's Journal of Stitchery. They are on volume 7. It is an amazing community of creators, and I have mine laid out. It's over there. I think it feels a little overwhelming, and I don't know what I would do with it. That's kind of what has stopped me. It is sitting there. I have my table. I have my vase, sort of. I have the background for it, but I don't know. I haven't committed to putting it together because I just don't know. There's part of me that thinks maybe I would prefer having it on a smaller scale. I don't know. So I know some of you, I think, is it Christine, who's doing a bunch of smaller panels, which that I have totally thought of doing that. That would be good. But then part of me is like, well, or I could try to do this big scale thing, because I literally have never done anything like that in fabric before. I've painted, I've done, I mean, I'm a photographer. I've got a 24 by 36 portrait downstairs of my parents and all their grandchildren that I photographed. And, you know, I like large pieces, but I don't know. There's something about this one that makes me just not sure. So I have not yet fully committed to it. But I may just do it just because, you know. You can always take it apart later if you don't want it. That's the thing with sewing. You know, it's part of my motivation in keeping this piece whole. Now, this obviously I took apart, but it's large enough so somebody could certainly come through with a seam ripper or something. Or, I don't know, seam ripper of the future. I'm sure it's even easier to use. Okay, let's see where we are. Now, the only thing I need to do at this point is kind of, I'm going to work my thread. Ooh, I've right at the end. Let's see if I have enough. I think I have enough to take it all the way to the edge through the layers. I just kind of want to hide my knot over there at the edge. I could hide it somewhere in the middle. That's okay. But if I can make it to the edge, I will. I don't know why it seems better, but it just does. Well, this has not been maybe a particularly exciting video, but I do hope that you've enjoyed doing whatever you're stitching as we have talked. Okay, so when I end up with not much thread left and I want to make a knot, all I do is separate these strands and tie it off. This is not going to be hidden in the seam, but it's so tiny and it's on texture. I think we'll be just fine. Now, what else could I do to this if I wanted to? There's so many options. Most of my pouches, I put a pocket. That's fun. Not here, because then everything dumps out. That's not a good place for a pocket. There we go. I would put a pocket in here. All right. Oh, I still need to stitch that. So, but let's look and see. Did that little thing improve it? Yes, it sure did. I am much happier with that, even though it's a funny little extra. Now the question is, do I want this to fold in? Nah, I'm just leaving well enough alone. Let's see. Okay, now I'm going to grab some white thread again and just finish off the edge. Okay, so to finish off the edge, I'm going to do a couple things. But the main thing is I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to check all of my edges. Is everything tapped down how I want it? It's all right. Okay, I'm going to hide this stitch down here in this seam. And now with this one, I'm not trying to go through the layers. It is going to have white thread on both sides. Now you'll notice there's already a line of white thread there from when I stitched that on. That's kind of the look I went for. So this will just have a second row. I could stitch under it if I wanted to. Let me remind myself of what I did on the other side. Oh yeah, it was the white. So I went ahead and I ran it under in some parts where I didn't want to mess up the border. So, you know, again, for a lot of stability, you know, going through all the layers of fabric, it's going to keep it tight together. And just see how that looks. The white on this side, it's not really going to matter. I'm just going to look at the back. So if I line up my stitches kind of with where the other stitches are, I think that then it'll blend even more. So I think I'm going to do that. Not through the same holes. I don't want to, I don't think that would loosen anything, but just in case, I want to keep this sturdy because this is, you know, these are the stitches holding it together. Now, there have been some kind of tote bags and such that I've made that I went ahead and machine stitched some of it just to strengthen it. And you could certainly do that. But this particular little bag, the stitching is part of the design, really. So I'm happy for it to have these little stitches. Let's see. There's lots of ways you could do this. You could do a whip stitch around the edges. I am just doing a kind of a running stitch through all of the layers. I'm burning a candle. It's called Christmas Tree Farm, which I know it's February, but it is seriously one of the best smelling candles I have. I think it was put out by the Pensacola Candle Company. If you're looking for lovely scented candles, they make some good ones. I got it at a Christmas market for one of the nonprofits in town is called Rally. I've done different work with them in the past, and they raise funds for fighting childhood cancer. So they have this fantastic, it's called their soiree, their shopping soiree at downtown every Christmas. And so I go, and in the past, sometimes I've photographed it for them. And this time I was just going for fun. I have a lot of friends who are vendors. And so anyway, I went and oh my goodness. So I smelled these candles and I'm like, that needs to live in my studio where I can be blissful and cozy. The weather does not know what it's doing. It was in the 20s and 30s and 40s. Then this week it was in the high 70s. This is all Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. It's warm. Let's just say it's warm, not super hot. And then last night we had a huge thunderstorm, and today it was in the 60s. And I guess tomorrow the lows are going down to the 30s again. So spring in Florida, or winter, or whatever we're in, cannot make up its mind, which is not unusual for this time of year. But I am going to enjoy the small bits of coziness that I get as they come. because the summer around here, now that is hot. I know some of my Australian friends who are in summer right now. Your summers are hot. I don't know how it compares to here. As they always say, it's not the heat, it's the humidity, which here is no joke. Humidity in Florida, even where I live, which is up on the very north part of Florida. My goodness, the South knows how to do humidity. It is serious. It's like you walk outside and it's like you're swimming. So we are not currently in that season, and I am not mad at it. I like it being a little chilly where I can wear jeans and boots and I don't feel like I'm going to die. So, you know, I'll take that. All right, my dears, that finishes that. All we need to do is hide our little knot in the middle of this. And I gotta say, there are not too many total renegade stitches in this. You have to understand that the inside of a lot of my bags are very full of crazy stitching. Now, we can call it the awesome backstory and welcome it and embrace it. I'm good with that too. But if I want it to look finished and more polished, then having fewer random stitches throughout the inside, and also just for practicality, because if this is your bag, you don't want your stuff getting snagged on random stitches. So I'm very pleased with this because overall it's very smooth and it'll be easy to deal with. Okay, I think I have made enough little extra stitches, and now I'm just gonna knot this off, and there we go. A fabulous little bag. Now, as I said, it may get a handle, but I'm not worried about that for now. It could be a pouch, it can be a bag. It's so fun. So there's my front, and I am happy that I did that and made this little part, because now I can't see the lace over the top. And then on the back, we have all of the fun happening, the many layers, the texture. It is so fun. All right. Well, this is my little bag, and I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got some stitching done, and I hope that I will see you soon. Please take a minute to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. I really appreciate it. Talk to you soon.